Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Iksan Habib. Today, my friends and I will explain about looping in C language. What is looping? Let's get started. Looping. Looping in programming is used to repeat a particular block of code until it meets the desired conditions. Following are the types of looping in C programming language. The first one is while loop. Second one is do while loop. And third one is for loop. So looping is used to repeat some of actions until the desired condition, until the conditions has a false value. So the program will continue repeat the actions while the conditions has true value and stops until the program has the conditions has false value. Okay, before we dive into these types of looping, we need to know about the structure of looping. Here is the structure of looping in C language. The first one is initialization. The condition at the beginning of the loop, we assign a value to the counter variable. The counter variable is usually signed with I. Second one is condition. Conditions are comparison that must be met for a loop to run. As long as this condition is met, the compiler will continue to loop. Third one is update statement. The part to process the counter variable so that it can meet the end conditions of the loop. Okay, now we talk about while loop. While loop, in while loop, the action will be carried out as long as the condition is true and will stop if the condition is false. In this iteration, the number of repetition is not known with certainty. Now we dive into the examples of the code. Here is the declaration of while loop. First, we type while with following by the conditions in brackets, and then we type the actions we want to take, and then we close the program. Here is the example code of while loop. Firstly, of course, we include the library stdio.h, and then we declare the counter variable is int I, and then we open the main program. Here we declare I as 1. So the loop will start when I equal to 1. Next is the declaration. While followed by the conditions I less or equal 10. So when the I is as long as the I is less or equal to 10, then the action here inside the loop will continue to loop until the conditions has a false value. For example, the false value is I equal to 11. So it doesn't meet the condition, so uh, the program will not execute anymore. And next, here is the actions printf, and then here is the update statement. Whenever the action is already executed, the I will be plus by 1. So every loop, the I will increase its value to 1 until the condition has a false value. Okay, here is the code, and if we run it, the output will be 1, 2, 3, 4 until 10. Why is it until 10? Because the condition is not met whenever I is equal to 11. Because the condition here is I less or equal to 10. So if the I is more than 10, it will has the false value. So the program will not execute it here. Printf will not be executed because um, the I is not met the condition. Okay, additional notes. In the example above, there is an actions where I equal to I plus 1, which will change the output conditions to I less or equal to 10 to false whenever the I is more than 10. So if the I is more than 10, the condition has a false value, so the loop will not execute any more actions. This means I must have a value less or equal to 10. So that true. So the condition is true. Other than I is less or equal to 10, these are false value.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Zidanova Ramadan with assistant code RAM. Here, I will explain about do while loop. In do while loop, the action will be done at least once. This is because the condition checking is done after the action is performed for the first time. The action will continue as long as the condition is true and stop when the condition is false. In this iteration, the number of repetition is not known with certainty. Okay, then let's move to the left side of this slide. First, we have declaration. To use do while loop, we can write do curly bracket followed by action, then while bracket followed by condition. Next, we also have an example code of do while loop. Here, the variable declaration of integer I, and then in a main function, value of I equals 1. Then there is a do while loop here. Action of this do while loop are used to print the variable I and then increase it by 1 with this post increment, and then the condition of this do while loop is I less than 10. So if we run this example code, the output will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks same as a regular while loop. The difference is if we use a different value of I, that makes the condition of this do while loop false. For example, if the value of I equals 11, then there will be no loop. So, but the action of do while loop will still run, but only one time. So for example, I equal 11, then the output will be 11 only, and then the value of I will be increased by 1, so it will be 12. There is notes here that statement I plus plus identical with I equal I plus 1. The I plus plus is called post-increment.
Okay, next we will discuss about for loop. So, the for loop is a loop which in this looping method, the number of iterations is known with certainty. And also this loop is used if we already know how many iterations will be done. Okay, for example, we can see in the table of the bottom of the PowerPoint, this in the first line is the standard library for C, and the second line is the declaration variable integer named E, and the third line is main function which contains for loop, which is where we give the initialization value is 1 and the condition is I is less than 8 and the update statement is post increment, which is I plus plus. And every time this program loop, it will display the value of I. The output of this program is to display a number from 1 to 7. And note, if you want to use decreasing method, for example to display number 10 to 1, use for initialization value 10 and condition is I is more than equal to 1, and for update statement is post decrement, which is I minus minus. Okay, next I will try to show you an example of a for loop program that is used to input a lot of data. In the first line you can see the standard of library C, and the second line is library for getchar, and I will try to explain what is getchar exactly in next step. And the third line is declaration variable integer named value n and I, and the fourth line is declaration of an array of char with an index limit of 100, and the fifth line is main function, and the seventh line you can see the system CLS. What exactly system CLS? So system CLS is the function that serves to clear the output screen from the previous program output. And here you can see the printf lots of data is used to display paragraph lots of data, and this scanf is used to input your data to variable n here. Okay, and next in here and in the egg line is a for loop where we give the initialization value is 1 and the condition is I is less than equal to n, and the update statement is post increment, which is I plus plus. And every time this program loops, it will display the 3 line of this. The 10 line is printf value is used to display value, and the 11 line is scanf value is to input data to variable value. And you can see in 11 line you can see the getchar. What is exactly getchar? Getchar here functions so that the program line after scanf can be read, because every time we use scanf in the loop, it will leave a new line or /n. So we use getchar so that the new line can be read by the program, which is where it aims to read get's name here. Okay, and the 12th line you can see the printf name is used to display name, and gets is function like it seems with scanf is to input data to variable name. Okay, so this is an example of a for loop program that is used to input a lot of data. Okay, let's run this program. Okay, you can input the data, lots of data, for example 3. And for first data I will input the value 90. It belongs to me, for example. And the second data is, for example, 70. It belongs to my friend maybe. Yeah. And the third data is, for example, 60. It belongs to, I don't know who the name, ID. Okay. So this is an example of a for loop program that is used to input a lot of data.
Hello everyone, my name is Andini Windirande with assistant code AWR. Now I will explain pre-increment and post-increment. What is pre-increment and post-increment? Pre-increment and post-increment is a way to add value to a variable. First, pre-increment returns the value to the value that has undergone the addition operation, or value is added first then output. The second, post-increment returns the value to a value that hasn't undergone the addition operation, or value is output first, then added. Next, pre-increment example adds value to a variable before the value of the variable is processed. The initial value of I is 0, then the value of plus I is 1. This is because in plus I, the value of 0 is increased by 1 before being displayed, so that the value of plus I is 1, and on the next call the return I is also 1. Next, post-increment example adds value to a variable after the value of the variable is processed. The initial value of I is 0. Then the value of I++ is 0. This is because in I++ the value is displayed first with a value of 0. After that, it is increased by one number, so that in the next call the display I is worth 1. Now, I will explain pre-decrement and post-decrement. Pre-decrement and post-decrement is a way to reduce the value of a variable. First, pre-decrement returns the value to the value that has undergone a subtraction operation, or the value is subtracted first, then output. The second post-decrement returns the value to a value that hasn't undergone a subtraction operation, or value is output first, then subtracted. Next, predicament example subtracts the value of a variable before the value of that variable is processed. The initial value of I is 2, then the value of min I is 1. This is because in min I, the value of 2 is lowered by 1 before being displayed. So the value of min I is 1, and on the next call the return I is also 1. Next, post-decrement example subtracts the value of a variable after the value of that variable is processed. The initial value of I is 2. Then the value of I min is 2. This is because in I min the value is displayed first with a value of 2. After that, it is lowered by one number. So that and the next call the displayed I value is 1.
Next is control comments. Control comments are used to change the result of the loop from its default. In this module, we use two control comments, which the break and continue. First is break comment. Break comment functions to stop the looping process that is in progress. The example is there's one one code that use for loop that initiate e equals to 1, I less than 10, then I plus plus. If I equals 7, break. This means if the value of I equals to 7, then the system will be do the break command. If the usual for loop will be output 1 to 9, then if we use break command in I equals to 7, the output will be 1 to 6. We'll try this in VS Code. Let's change this to break. And then the result is here. It will be output the value of I after use break command 1 to 6. Okay, the next is continue command. Continue command functions to skip the intended loop. The differences between break and continue commands is if the break the to stop totally the program, the continue command is just to skip the intended value of the loop. The example is here. We have the same code as before, but the differences is the break is replaced to continue. The result was just bit difference. That will be output 1 to 6, but after that it will be output 8 and 9 too. That's because the continue commands just to skip the value of the intended loop. In this loop, we just skip the 7, and we will try this in the VS Code too. And we change the break to continue. Code. Yeah, same as in this one. Will output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Note for fourth module, E++ is identical to I equals I plus 1. System close function to clear the program screen. System close is in the libraries stdlib.h. Getchar after scanf, which takes /n in the input memory so that gets can work. This means if we don't use getchar before scanf, that use gets that and that gets won't work. That's all from us. Thank you.